Oh, well, hello. Make sure sure enough, everything's good. What's happening, crew? It is Big Life, Big Business with Spencer Cohn, Spencer Uncensored for the night. Curious to see how many of you show up live. And if you don't come live, that's okay, because this is recorded. We got other people that will come in later on. It was good to see Wendy Kumalo, who is one of our real estate agents with the United Home Group. That's a team that I work with from South Africa. So I don't know. I can't technically say that's the first international person, but I'm betting that she was. So excited to have you guys here. Feel free to drop something in the comments. Let me know that you're here. I would love to know if any of you guys have taken the 7 master steps and done something with it. And if so, I'd love to see what you guys drop in the chat about that. But I've had a bit of an epiphany this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm also going to piggyback off of a conversation we had last week. We talked about family, codependencies, and stuff like that. That wasn't exactly riveting, but I'm sure it was a little bothersome for a few. We're going to talk about taking a step back so that we can move forward by the end of the night. Anyway, where are you guys chiming in from? I see Daniel P. Sermon says hello. Deborah D. Payne. Deborah D. Payne. Oh, are you a Payne, Deborah D. Payne? That sounds very much like a Deborah the Payne. John Figueroa is in the house. I know Jonathan doesn't go by Jonathan. John, I'm glad you're here, buddy. Dan Sermon says he got the book Interrupt the Pattern. Like that. Is that the one by John Cheplack? Is that the one that you got? That's a question for Dan. All right. Well, while you guys put that in, let me share this with a little bit of an epiphany, because we've been working on John Cheplack. John is a huge leadership coach in the real estate space. And he comes from anybody's like curious or interested about John. I actually met John the first time in Charlotte, North Carolina at a RE/MAX recruiting event. So when I say leadership coach, he's big on recruiting and how to recruit. And at the time I was so this would have been 2004-ish, 2005. Yeah, 2005-ish. That gives you a sense for how long he's been doing what he's doing. And you're starting to see these huge leaps and bounds of his reach. But anyway, he had a big change in his life with addictions, specifically alcohol, and he wrote this book. So cool. I'd love to hear feedback from you, Dan Sermon, about that. All right. So we've been talking a little bit about the MF code and how this stuff lines up and how I can present it. And I've been doing my best to kind of clean it up a little bit. Like, how do I present this in a group to help bring people into this discussion? It dawned on me that I have been saying for a very long time that professional development always comes on the heels of personal development. And it's always been a little bit, it's not always been the most receptive thing, because people come to me, they want business coaching. They want to know how to increase their business. Like, man, just tell me how to get more leads. Tell me how to get, convert these conversations. Tell me how to build lead magnets. Tell me how to handle the books, the P&Ls, right? All the things that are mechanically help people grow their business. And invariably, as I start working with them, we start digging in and finding out that there's things that they need to be dealing with on a personal level that will permeate their entire life and literally shift the trajectory. which is why so many people that I work with typically have like life-changing type results. And then the business takes off because they have made some personal changes in their own. So I'm trusting this makes sense to you, both in that I have seen so many times how people can, you know, they don't want to have a part of this because it's a little fearful. And I'd rather just, you know, hey, just give me the goods, man. Just give me the goods. Tell me the business part of it, right? Can I do that? Of course I can do that. I mean, especially if in the real estate space. Insurance, I've helped with scripting and worked on that. There's some principles that just convey across all sales environments. Mortgage, same thing. But the fact is that we can do that all day long, and we can do the momentum and mastery discussion, right? Spencer, boost my momentum. Spencer, I want to build mastery. I want to make the same amount of money. Just I don't want to work as hard. I want to work half the time, or I want to work the same amount of time, but I want to make twice as much money. And that's the momentum and mastery discussion that I've shared with you guys before. That's what people want, and that's what they're looking to, you know, just explode. And that's what they come to me for. And then what they walk away from me with is a personal change, right? Jacob Jones is in the house. If I'm not mistaken, that is Jacob Jones of Texas. Texas is in the house. Yeah, man. Anyway, he said a wise woman once told it matters who you're in business with. Absolutely. Yeah, who you're in business with matters. Man, that's a twister. But the point I'm getting at here is that people come to me for that momentum and mastery discussion, and then we end up walking away when I'm working with them on literally shifting their life so that their business will in fact grow, but they have grown with it. Because as I've said before, big problems happen to little people. And so if I help you as a person grow, then you'll handle bigger problems in your business. Well, here's an analogy, and this is how this all kind of clicked for me. Spencer, I want to play the game at a professional level. Like if this was football, we'd say, I want to play on the NFL field, man. I want to make NFL money. I want to be an NFL player, or I want to play on that field. And what I invariably find out is that not everybody is an NFL player and qualified to be playing on an NFL field yet. And so we have to start doing the work to help them build up the skills necessary to be the player. So before we're ever calibrating and doing all of the MF method and the qualified champion, the mindset and the can, all that stuff that we talk about, before they can ever do that, they got to first become the player. And before they'll ever become the player, they got to choose to be the player. Now, you guys have heard this now a couple of times, but before they choose, or the ability to choose comes from the whole drift to drive. So here's a question I have for you guys. Got a smaller crowd tonight. Maybe you got, and if you're watching this later on, you're not watching it live. I'm looking for, what's the one thing that I could put out there for free that would almost compel you as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, to give me your email address because you're going to get something of value. Like what would be like a one-page thing, maybe a small book. I don't want to do a whole book at the moment, but the whole drift to drive piece I could do. I could do a quick one-page thing on how to actually go from drifting to driving, how to activate your drive and get yourself in gear. That's an option. Right now, I have the seven steps for a breakthrough out there for free. Which, by the way, that program is something I charge $19.97, and I don't mean $19.97. That was a $2,000 7-week program that I would do. I literally have that out there for free. You can just go to mfmethod.com/breakthrough. We're looking to build a database. So that's the message, and it's getting cleaner and cleaner each week. One business tip I have for you real quick before I get into this other topic. In every business, you need to be building a list. The bigger the list, the better you are. And specifically, we're referring to email lists. I don't care what business you have, even if it's a brick and mortar situation, list. Some of you would call that a database, but you should have your own people, your list, your people, right? That's a tip. And if you're not doing that already, get on it. If you already have a list, then the question is going to be, how are we communicating with it regularly? Fair enough? So, topic number 3. All right. So I had a conversation with an individual who has very lofty goals for this year, and for all intents and purposes are actually going to do rather well for the year. They've had some personal setbacks, and they were super bummed about that because the potential is all there, but they've got some real big drama issues going on in their life. And I don't think there's really anything you can get rid of. I mean, this person's not going through a divorce, but I would use it. It's similar situation. So let's just pretend like it's a divorce. What do you do? What do you do with your goals? If you're going to go through a traumatic situation, you know is going to impair your ability to get to your goal. Is this where you buck up and say, you know what, no matter what, I'm committed to the outcome. I'm going to make it happen, even so? I don't know. I think it would be a little pretentious of me to just say, oh, yeah, that's what you do. I don't think anybody really knows until they're in that spot, because each situation is a little unique and a little different on their own. Fair? So, do you fall apart? We could do what, like John Figueroa mentioned, you know, do we readjust? Based off of the principle of flexibility, remember, part of the blueprint is a mindset of flexibility. The situations are going to come, they're inevitable. Imagine, let's say you were completely capable of running a marathon. 26.2 miles, I think. Yep. Isn't that how far? Yeah, I think a marathon is 26.2 miles. Let's say we know you are capable of it. Maybe you weren't, maybe you haven't done it yet, but you know you were working on training for that. You were getting close to it. You were really getting close to making sure you could run a marathon. And excuse me. Yeah, compartmentalize. Yeah, that's probably a good word for it. Imagine you were capable of running a marathon, but you had this physical condition that really just, you didn't want to deal with it. And so you just kind of dealt with it, meaning you didn't want to get rid of it because it was going to be painful maybe, or it was just going to slow you down. And so you settled for 5Ks, maybe even a 10K, but you're never going to run a marathon because you won't take you won't do something about this particular situation in your body. Maybe it required surgery. And you're like, I'm not going to stop. I'll deal with the suffering. And I recognize it's going to keep me at 5K or 10K. I'm not going to be able to do a marathon. I know I probably could if I addressed this cancerous situation. Sometimes that's what we have to do, is deal with the shit so that we can actually heal and then step forward and go run the marathon, because that's what we're actually capable of. So let's pretend you had a bad relationship. It's toxic, whatever it looks like to you. Maybe it's not like massively toxic, but it's just not a good situation. You know, it's going to be a little painful if you parted from it. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's extremely toxic and you have been suffering through the process and have been unwilling to deal with it. Until eventually you hit some moment of threshold, you cut it out of your life. You're probably not going to run the marathon this year, but you're going to heal. You're going to step back, do the work necessary so that you're not going to settle for 10Ks anymore. You're going to go for 26.2 miles. I don't know if that analogy worked. That's the first thing that came to my mind, because this particular individual is an achievement-minded person. They're driven. They love to go, they want to go, and they feel bad because now they're not going to be able to necessarily hit the exact number they had originally laid out for themselves. So, and I told all of you guys that Big Life, Big Business, I was going to share with you actual stories, actual situations that have come up in conversations. Well, this is a real one. This one actually just happened very recently. I knew that I needed to help reframe the situation to put them in an empowered position, because it was going to get even worse going through the crap with the expectation of being able to do something on the other end. Well, not something, way more. Here's something you can write down. I heard it on the podcast again this morning. It's something I've heard before, but sometimes you just got to hear things again to remember. Pain is inevitable. Progress is not. And pain is inevitable, or change is inevitable. Progress is not. Excuse me. Pain is probable. Suffering is a choice. I messed that up. Sorry, guys. Change is inevitable. Progress is not. Pain is probable. Suffering is a choice. So if you're going through a bad situation and it might be painful, it's painful. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to suffer through the whole thing. So you have to focus on where you're headed. So we reframe the situation that this is a moment to take a step back so we can take 2 steps forward later. We're taking a step back. By the way, if we're going to fight, right? We're going to fight, I'm probably going to drop one leg back, am I not? That's all that is. We're getting in a position where we can move forward, we can step forward, but sometimes we've got to brace ourselves so that we can take our step forward. I trust that's useful for you. In addition to the reframe, we also shared with them a strategy on, it's like having a double vision discussion. It's not really what you want to do, but you're going to have a rhythm of doing this, okay? What I'm referring to is, what is the long range outcome I'm really after? What am I focused on long range? And then what am I doing right now, this week? because when things get really volatile, we have to focus on what's going on right in front of me. So a lot of you guys that are on here right now, I think pretty sure most of you are real estate agents. Sometimes with a transaction, like a closing, a real estate closing, if things are getting all messy in the last little bit, you're just focused on what needs to happen next and then what happens after that. And this is kind of like what Dan said earlier with the compartmentalizing. That's essentially what you're doing, is you're boxing it in and handling each situation as it comes. So, but you can't lose sight of the long range focus. So you got to keep that vision, and then you've got to focus right here. What's next? What's next? What's next? And this is where you take the whole one day at a time conversation. That's how you fight through difficult situations. I think what a lot of times people do is they do one or the other, and not both. And if you do, you don't necessarily get where you want to go. You know what I mean? Like, if you only focus on what's right in front of you, you may not end up where you want to be. And if you always focus on what's way out there, you may not necessarily take the action necessary to deal with what's right in front of you. I'm thinking we need to shift some of this to a little bit more of the business end of stuff. Like, how do you build a list? That's a little tip that I gave you a minute ago. What do we do to attract people to us? Maybe we should talk about some of those things. But I just know that sometimes we need to really, maybe I'll focus on the 7 master steps, because there's a lot of really good tips in there, strategies on how to build your business and yourself in the process. So I've run out of gas. I don't have anything else for you tonight. If you guys need anything from me, please feel free to reach out. Bottom line is, for tonight, if you have not reached your goal, or you don't feel like you're going to because you've had a situation show up in your life, then I would reframe it, clarify the outcome, and then handle the situations that are right in front of me. Yep, that's what I would say. All right, friends. It's been a quiet night. If y'all need something from me, feel free to reach out. Let's get some more friends in here. Let's make this even juicier. Maybe I'll get some other people on here and we'll start doing some, interviews. That would be kind of cool. I'm guessing that's what might help. But anyway, all right, guys. Y'all have a good night. I will look forward to talking to you soon.